AAA studios are out here basically ruining the gaming industry. Meanwhile, indie game devs are out here dropping gems. Teams comprised of as small as 1 to 2 people sometimes are out here dropping absolute bangers of games. Meanwhile, you have studios with 1,000+ people releasing absolute garbage. Now, the problem is there's a lot of these good indie games, but they're hard to filter through. It's not like before where indie games are hard to find. You can go on Steam, type in indie games, and find thousands of games to play. The problem is filtering through these. A lot of these games are shovelware. A lot of these games are indie, but that's just low budget, low effort is what they're actually saying. And a lot of them are just not your taste because indie games can be so creative and so innovative that sometimes it's hard to find a game that's different and not something like a AAA game, but that still works for you and still suits your play styles and tastes. So what I've done is I've gone through and I've made a list of indie games from the past and of the present, and they're just games that I think are really innovative in their genres, games that mix genres together to create something new, games that just took their genre and ran with it and did something completely unique. Just 5 indie games that'll really show you why this is a space that you should be paying attention to and why there's a lot of the greatest games available to you right here in this space. First up is Guns of Fury. This game takes a popular genre and adds elements I've never seen mixed together before. This game is basically Metroid meets Contra and Metal Slug. Metroidvanias have to be one of my favorite genres when done right. The gameplay loop of exploration mixed with constant discovery with added combat and RPG elements has always been the perfect mix for me. Guns of Fury mixes up the formula by adding Metal Slug and Contra style combat to the genre, and it does it in the most seamless way that makes me wonder why nobody's ever tried this before. Metal Slug and Contra have this very distinct run and gun formula that at first glance would never make you think this should be a Metroidvania. They work well as side-scrolling platforming games, but when you think about what a Metroidvania game is, a non-linear platformer with RPG elements and combat, then you realize why not mix the two? All the chaos and combat of those games blends perfectly with the rich exploration and ability hunting that comes with a Metroidvania. Guns of Fury does a lot to stand out. Its world and graphics are beautifully rendered using some of the most outstanding pixel graphics I've ever seen. The environments are varied and original with added environmental destruction to make its world and gameplay even more immersive and strategic. Upgrades and abilities like double jumps, wall climbing gauntlets, grappling hooks, and dashes add depth and help shape the non-linear exploration and discovery. You can pilot various mech suits with their own added attacks that lend even more to the amount of variety within the gameplay. There's a large amount of RPG elements at work here too. Different loadouts available and customizable based on how you like to play. Different guns synergize better with certain side weapons, and picking the right tools for the job can be crucial, especially in some of the game's excellent boss battles. These are carefully crafted boss scenarios that require some thinking and not just fast reflexes. They're one of the game's biggest highlights, and they often will require multiple attempts and strategy to overcome them. NPC characters that will sell you various items are here to help. They're scattered throughout the map, and often new abilities and backtracking is needed to find them, forcing exploration without feeling repetitive. This game isn't overly difficult, but it definitely presents a challenge to you that will require you to utilize all the systems, weapons, and abilities available to you. This innovative and unique blend of Castlevania meets Contra runs super smooth, and I didn't expect it to get its hooks in me as deeply and as quickly as it did. Do you remember the movie Small Soldiers? Hypercharged Unboxed is what happens when a small team of passionate developers that clearly watched that movie many times decide they want to make something original in gaming. Played in either first or third person, you have the option to switch back and forth on the fly. You control your customizable toy soldier in classic team deathmatch or capture the flag style battles. This game's many levels are super creative and unique, ranging from simple things like a child's bedroom to more complex maps like a big backyard or toy store. There's a large variety of characters to choose from, many customizable skins given for free, and unlocked through gameplay as you go. Zero microtransactions, everything is unlocked through gameplay. If you're not into the multiplayer style battles, which can be played entirely offline with bots or co-op on the couch with a friend, then the game also has a robust single player campaign that switches things up by adding objectives and changes the core gameplay loop from a deathmatch to more of a tower defense style game. You run around the arenas the same as you would during a regular deathmatch or capture the flag, but your objective is to protect a number of battery charged towers from waves of various enemies. The game requires you to strategize and think to be successful, which is a big highlight for me, and the consumer-friendly way the game is packaged is very rare nowadays. If you're someone like me who collects statues or figures, then this game is a must-play. But even if you aren't, then I'd encourage you to try this game just for how accessible and original it is. Hypercharged Unboxed is one of the best multiplayer games I've played in years. What if the Battlefield franchise went isometric? That's basically running with rifles in a nutshell. Large-scale battles carried out across massive maps, all in an isometric view. These huge battles feel like actual war. Your army will fight back, capture ground, push and flank forward. Orders given by the commanding officer can be ignored without punishment. If you want to run in Leroy Jenkins style, you're free to do so, you just likely won't last long. The game can be played online or offline with bots and friends. The difficulty is real and you have to actually be thoughtful when you're playing. Quick thinking is definitely required with this game. Everything you would see in a large AAA Battlefield game is here. Full control over a number of vehicles, lead various squads, each with their own objectives, call in artillery, sabotage enemy outposts, loot gear off of fallen soldiers. All of this is happening all at once at any given time, and it makes it feel like a true large-scale battle. On the online harder difficulties, people are often organized, with everyone playing a position with actual teams of infantry or saboteurs, snipers, and everything else, all working together to overcome and win the battle against the opposing force. And this is where the game truly shines. You feel like you're actually part of the larger battle, and doing things just to help out your teammates feels just as rewarding as taking out an enemy or completing an objective. These objectives vary from your own made-up strategies to further the battle along, or side objectives that earn you roleplay points, such as destroy the AA gun or repair the abandoned tank. You earn them by completing tasks, capturing objectives, or wrecking enemy gear. You can spend roleplay points at armories to gear up with better weapons and armor, or use them for radio calls like airstrikes, reinforcements, or supply drops. It's basically a reward for doing tasks and your way of upgrading and progressing. There's PvP and PvPe modes with tons of customization options so you can create any kind of scenario you want to take part in, which makes this game infinitely replayable. When played in co-op with a friend, I had some of the best multiplayer sessions of my entire life. Even though the game is incredibly complex with loads of systems all working at one time together to create the realistic war experience, the game keeps an arcadey edge and never takes itself too seriously, and that allows you to just truly play however you want. I go back to this game all the time, and if you give it a try, I think you will too. Unholy is what happens when Hades meets vampires with a healthy dose of boobs. Normally when I see a game with this lustful aesthetic, I assume the gameplay will be mediocre and all the focus went on the character designs instead of the gameplay. But that couldn't be further from true here. Unholy takes the roguelike formula and adds Metroidvania and RPG elements, making it one big, sexy, unique package. The premise is simple enough. You choose one of 3 half-vampire nuns who are part of a squad of vampire hunters. The story is your basic locate and defeat the vampire queen with some actually interesting lore sprinkled throughout and some memorable NPCs to help you along your way. You gather resources, level up your skills, and upgrade your gear. Unlock permanent upgrades to help you get further on your next run, and increase hunter rank, which allows you to unlock additional benefits. A good mix of RPG elements and customization keeps the core gameplay loop varied and fun. Combat mechanics include things like dodging for iframes, exploiting enemy weaknesses, and mastering damage types like burn, holy, and bleed for maximum efficiency. All these things are utilized when choosing upgrades and lend into how you build and customize your character. Unholy gives you 3 playable huntresses: Preya, Marie, and Sane, each built for different kinds of carnage. Pick your gameplay style wisely, as each character is vastly different from the next. Again, adding to the amount of variety and replayability which is key for this genre. The environments and enemies are very well made, and whoever's job it was to come up with the environment and character designs deserves a raise. It's hard to make a game this aesthetically pleasing without somehow letting it feel like it's too much. The styles suit the characters and world and don't feel forced, and lend to their personalities in a way most designs like this normally would not. When looking at this game without any knowledge of it, you would likely choose to play it for the aesthetic reasons, but you'd be pleasantly surprised that underneath all that boobs is actually some pretty interesting characters with some deep and innovative gameplay that feels like it's not just another roguelike, but actually bringing its own fresh spin to the genre. Slick graphics, nice sound designs, and beautiful characters, all culminating into exciting and smooth gameplay. This game is a must-try if you're into this genre of vampires, or well, you know. Often the best and most memorable part of any game are the boss fights. Mechtermination Force is only boss fights. The entire game is literally just a gauntlet of bosses, and these bosses are enormous, often taking up the majority of the screen, while leaving you as a little lone soldier to clamber around on them, looking for weak spots to exploit and destroy using any of the game's various guns and weapons. Basically, this game is Shadow of the Colossus meets Cuphead and Contra. You get a small arsenal, you choose your loadout combination, and enter into large-scale boss battles. Much like Shadow of the Colossus, every boss has a glowing vulnerable area, and you target those to break shields or stun them. You start with a basic weapon, and as you progress, you unlock new weapons at the shop between missions, like the laser beam and shotgun. You can only carry one main weapon at a time, so you choose which weapon to bring into battle before the fight, and choosing the right weapon for the right boss can make a big difference depending on the weak spots and attack patterns. As the bosses weaken, they drop coins, and you get to keep these coins even if you die. These coins can be spent in the shop improving your character between attempts. Needless to say that the gameplay is immersive and unique and a ton of fast-paced fun. Often I found myself having to go back and re-challenge earlier bosses for some additional funds to purchase a new gun I wanted for a current boss fight. And this backtracking and grinding made the game feel even better, as it gave me a deep sense of making progression and progressing my character. The graphics and sound design are very pretty, with modern effects mixed with old school looks that give the game its own special art style. I've seen someone say it kind of looks like an old 80s mecha Saturday morning cartoon, and that would be an accurate way to describe the vibes here. Much like Shadow of the Colossus, each boss is unique and requires learning its attack patterns and figuring out how to get to its weak spots, often climbing all over them with platforming mechanics that feel really good. No two bosses felt alike, and figuring out what each one was and how to defeat each one often felt like its own little puzzle. I've played boss rush games before, but none that did it quite as good as this one. I feel like if you enjoy 2D games, platforming games, running gun games, or just a unique blend of genres and gameplay mechanics, then this is one of those games that you need to experience for yourself. Okay, so that's 5 indie games from the past and present that I feel deserve more attention. Just some hidden gems that I feel like went under the radar or didn't get the amount of love they deserve. I know indie games are fun, but like I said, they can be kind of hard to filter through. So I'm going to try and keep making these lists so I can go through all these indie games and find the real gems for you guys and for myself. It's been a lot of fun going through as many indie games as I have lately, and I plan to continue doing it. If you guys want to keep up with any of this stuff with me, go ahead, follow me on Twitter, jump in the Discord. We're always talking about stuff like indie games and the video game industry. If you made it to the end of this video, then I just want to say I appreciate you. I love you all, and I guess that's it. I'm out.